Hello there, ladies and gents. Welcome, welcome. The gotcha space is wreaking havoc. Everybody is shitting bricks for good reasons and bad reasons. Everybody is in massive chaos. It is a whole conundrum because Wuthering Waves has fucked the whole gotcha space. Everybody's either loving it or they're still licking Genshin's asshole. One or the other. But I wanted to make this video on basically my first impressions on Wuthering Waves. I've been playing it for about 11-12 hours, so I've gotten pretty far into the story. I still have like the last act left. But yeah, I've been playing a lot of it for the last 2 days. I'm enjoying the fuck out of it. It has its problems, it has its issues, but yeah, I just want to make this video first impressions. Not a full blown out review. I don't think you can actually have a true honest to god review unless you played the CBT 1 and CBT 2, and then you played a little bit more on the launch. I feel like you can have a true like honest review maybe around 1.1 after you've clocked in more than like 20 to 30 hours. I think that's a pretty fair place to have an actual review. But this is just first impressions. Everything's subject to change in the first impressions, because right now we're all in the honeymoon phase of a new gacha where they're very generous, they're giving you everything. Everything seems very easy and very fun because everybody's just starting out, nothing's hard yet. So yeah, I just wanted to make a first impressions video. All right, first thing I wanted to talk about, which is probably the most obvious thing, the combat. The combat is fucking amazing. 10 out of 10, 5 out of 5, 11 out of 20, or no, not 11 out of 20, 11 out of 10. But no, the combat is peak combat. I love the combat in this game. It is so fluid, it is so fast, it is so fresh, it is so dynamic. It blows Genshin's combat out of the water. And yes, I am going to compare Wuthering Waves and Genshin because they're direct competitors. If you're not comparing them, Hoiverse themselves are shitting bricks with Wuthering Waves. I originally thought they didn't have to, because I'm gonna be real, the Genshin stands for this game are they suck dick very well. That's all I'm gonna say. They suck dick very well. Only Genshin can have a period of 6 months where they release fuck all and they still make close to $500 million. It's insane. It's insane. But that's not the point. The point is, Wuthering Waves launch, the combat is fucking amazing. All right, in comparison to Genshin's combat, this might be a hot take for a lot of people. Actually, they like Genshin's combat. I do like it a lot. It doesn't have its problems. It does have its problems. But I think the biggest problem with Genshin, like the combat for Genshin, is not the combat itself. Like a lot of people like to say that the elemental reactions are kind of lackluster and there's not really a lot of thought put into them, which I can agree and disagree with. But I don't think it's the lack of depth of the elemental reactions which is the issue. I think the biggest issue is a couple of things. The first is the mob AI. The mob AI is very fucking stupid. All right, the mobs in this game do 4 things only. They walk backwards, walk forwards, walk side to side, and they attack. That's literally it. They don't do anything else. They don't jump. They don't do anything. Only like 3 different mobs like actually jump and like actually do like dynamic things. The world bosses, like they're dynamic, but that's because they're just singular. Like they're designed. They're singular enemies with more focus on them. So yes, they're gonna do more dynamic things, but like the mobs that you see in the overworld move backward, forward, side to side, and attack. And 99% of the time they're moving backward. They're not even aggressive. They're passive aggressive. It's annoying. But yeah, so it's the mob AI. And this is the biggest issue with Genshin's combat. I think this is the biggest issue with Genshin's combat. It is the fact that there is no stun lock in this game. That is the biggest issue with Genshin's combat. The fact that it lacks a stun lock. With Wuthering Waves, there's the parry and then there's the bullet time dodge, all right, or the perfect dodge, however you want to call it. It makes combat feel so nice because it gives you a way to dodge massive one-hit kills, and it also rewards you for playing well, right? With Genshin Impact, there is no reward for playing well. The only like reward sort of type of thing, like I guess you want to say a high IQ play, would be iframing with a dodge. And I know I'm probably in like the very small minority for this, but I actually like the iframes. I actually like using the iframes to dodge. It does feel nice to do. I'm not gonna lie. But it's not better than Wuthering Waves. It's not better than the parry and the perfect dodge from Wuthering. It's not. Um, and the biggest issue with Genshin Impact's like combat is that you're not forced to do anything else other than like use the elemental reactions. You're really not. There's only one way, or there's only one type of way to play Genshin Impact for the combat. Like in the combat, there's literally only one way. It's you get on your support, EQ switch, EQ switch, EQ switch, then you get on your main DPS and then just auto attack. That's how it is. That's literally the only way. That's the only way. You get on your supports, use their abilities and ultimates, and you get on your main DPS. That's the only way you play, right? And that's why I really appreciate like a character like Arlecchino, right? Arlecchino and Navia to an extent, because the way their kits are designed, they make you change up the way you play the game. Whereas like with Arlecchino, because of the way her kit works with the whole bond of dead or bond of life, you don't use a healer, you don't use a support, so you can run like 2 sub DPSs with a shielder, and the rotation is relatively the same. Like rotation is relatively the same, but it's just like the idea of having to switch up like the team building. It doesn't really like change that much in hindsight, but it does change the way you feel to play with Arlecchino, right? But that's the problem. That's locked behind Arlecchino. That's not like the base combat. That's the issue, right? With Wuthering Waves, the combat is like chef's kiss. It feels so good. All right. Another good thing about the game, the open world. No, not even exaggerating. Wuthering Waves has the best open world exploration I've ever played. Not even in a gacha game, in games, in like any open world game. It's incredible. One of the biggest things I've hated. I've always said this. I don't understand why open worlds do this. Breath of the Wild did this shit. Tears of the Kingdom. What are the open world games? Horizon Zero Dawn. Like a lot of these open world games, they all did the same thing, where they have this vast open world for you to explore, and then they limit you with a fucking stamina bar. I don't fucking get that. It's so annoying. Like you can't climb big mountains, you can't run as much as you want. It's so annoying. Genuinely, the exploration and the movement in Wuthering Waves, it feels like Assassin's Creed, right? One of the best things about Assassin's Creed was the parkouring, where it felt like nothing was an obstacle. You could climb whatever you want, you can run over everything. It felt like nothing was an obstacle, right? Even when you like run into a crowd, you would just push people out the way. It was nice. That was like one of the best things about Assassin's Creed. Yes, Assassin's Creed has issues, but that's what Wuthering Waves feels like. It feels like that, but open world, and it's so good. It feels so good when you can climb up, when you wall run up a mountain or like a house. You wall run up a house, and then there's that ledge. There's that ledge that everybody sees, right? Where you get stuck and you have to figure out a way to get over it. But in Wuthering Waves, you just vault over it, and it's so nice. It just feels so good. All right. As for the aesthetic of the open world, like how the open world actually looks, that could be more debatable, because one of the things I do praise Genshin for is how the open world does look. Genshin is a very pretty game. I think that's something that a lot of people can agree on. Genshin is a very beautiful game. There are a lot of areas in the game that are kind of breathtaking. Like I think Dragon Spine was my first time I ever was like, damn, this game is beautiful, right? And Wuthering Waves, you could argue just for aesthetic alone for the open world. I think you could argue both ways for how the open world looks. I think a lot of people did give Wuthering Waves shit. Did give Wuthering Waves too much shit about the open world, myself included. I'm not gonna sit here and lie. I do think I gave Wuthering Waves too much shit for the way the open world looks. The open world is fucking beautiful. It is. The open world is absolutely fantastic. The way it looks, it is actually really, really fucking beautiful. But as for which is better, you could argue both sides. So I'm just gonna say it matches Genshin. I would argue that. The next thing I would probably talk about is the music. As for like the music for Genshin versus Wuthering Waves, flat out, I think Genshin is better. I think Genshin's music is leagues better than Wuthering Waves. That's just my opinion. I actually think like in between all three, like Genshin, Honkai Star Rail, and Wuthering Waves, I think Genshin beats both of those games. I really like the music in Genshin. I really do. Um, I think you could argue. I mean, this is very subjective. This is not object. Like this is a very subjective thing. Like some people would argue Honkai Star Rails is better. Some people probably argue Wuthering Waves is better than both of them, right? Me personally, I think Genshin's better. Like the way I would rate this for me personally, like for Honkai Star Rail, right? There are really only like 3 songs that I've liked enough where I would actually go and put them on my Spotify. Where like it was Spacewalk, it was Fantilia's boss theme, and then Halfway House. If you don't know what Halfway House is, it's the song that plays in Pentakomi where Firefly goes and takes you near the end of the dream in like 2.0. Like, it's like that area, right? Those are really the only 3 songs that I liked enough to put them on my Spotify. Whereas with Genshin, I have like 7 songs on my Spotify. I have like Inazuma's theme. I have some songs from Sumeru. I have some songs from like the character demos. Like I just really like Genshin's music. Genshin's music is really good. Me personally, I think Genshin's is better than Wuthering Waves, but that's very subjective. That's very like the type of music you like listening to. So that's not end all be all. I think that's majority of the good things. But let's talk about the story. The story. For the story for Wuthering Waves, if you compare it to 1.0 Genshin, you could argue both ways which is better. I think the problem is that like when you're starting off a brand new game or any brand new narrative, the most important thing you want to do is to establish the world and understand the world that you're in. So majority of the time you're just gonna be like walking around seeing what's this world, what's this region about, who's this, who's that. That's really the like what most games are going to do at the beginning of the game to establish the world that you're in. It's going to be a lot of world building. So Wuthering Waves and Genshin, they both started off very slow. You could as for which do I think is better, I don't know. You could argue both ways. I think maybe Wuthering Waves might be a little bit better just because of the dark tone that it really took when Scar came out. Scar was really interesting. I really like Scar. So I think that might be like for me that might be it, but I can see people arguing the other way. So that is once again that's a little that could go either way for that. And then as for the cons, all right, so I think I went over like most of the good things about the game. Obviously the game does have issues. I think the first thing, the voice acting. Now, don't get me wrong, this is not me saying the voice actors are shit. I think the voice actors are very talented. I watched the live stream and where they introduce themselves in their regular voice and then they talked in their characters. The dynamic range, when I heard the dynamic range, I was like, yeah, these guys are talented. I do think the voice direction is the issue because I won't lie, Yang sounds like Siri if she was 13. I'm not kidding. Like a lot of these characters, they're deadpan, they're monotone. I don't know why all of them are British. Like I don't know if that's just me. I feel like most of them are British. It's weird. Yeah, the voice acting does need some work. I think Scar is the only character that like actually like. I think Scar is like the only one that like actually had like, damn, like this dude's like he's about it. Like I actually really liked his voice. But yeah, I think the voice acting does need a little bit of work. Not that I don't think it needs to change the actors themselves because I think they proved that they are talented. They just need better direction on like the type of voice that they need to use. But that's just my opinion. Next thing, obviously the next thing, the performance issues. I've been hit with some of the performance issues. I won't lie. The survey issues I've gotten, the game has been very laggy. I had to check multiple times if it was me, but my internet is fine. When I play other games, my internet is fine, so it's definitely a server issue. I've also seen issues where people can't even play the game. But I'm not too worried about that because Carol Games even like yesterday they tweeted out that they know about it. They're gonna fix it. It's not gonna be an issue for long. So I'm not gonna stress too much about that. Carol Games, one of the good things about Carol Games is they show multiple times that they are listening to the community. They are looking at the feedback and they're taking the criticism. One thing I will say though about that is I think Carol Games really needs to understand when to listen to the community and when not to listen to the community, because there are going to be times where you're just going to have to stick to your guns and understand, yeah, the community is full of shit. Like there are going to be times where they're going to have to stick to the guns and be like, no, I'm not going to listen to I feel like a good ratio would be like 80% of the time they take what the community is saying into consideration, not implement it, but take it into consideration and then implement it. And then like the last like 10 to 20%, fuck them. I won't lie. There are gonna be times where like the community is just gonna spout some bullshit, and they're gonna have to fully understand when and when not to listen to the community. But that's neither here nor there. But yeah, the performance issues, the lagging and the bugs, they've addressed them all, and they are gonna work on them. I think they've already put out a few hot fixes already, and then they are gonna put out some more hot fixes for that. And then they gave us a temple. They gave us a fucking temple for that. That is, in comparison to Genshin, I don't know if like in the gacha space entirely that's generous or not, but in comparison to Genshin, that is very generous, bruh. They are like, you think I'm gonna forget that they gave us 3 polls for Chinese New Year? Fuck that. They gave us a full. They gave us a 10 poll for a few bugs. Like straight up, like Kuro Games, they are handling this game very well. The story, I'm not gonna shit on the story too much because we're in the beginning, but I'd say 1.1, not even 1.1, I'd say 1.2. If they continue the main story until 1.2, I think that would be a good time to really gauge if the story is like, if they're handling the story well or not. So I'm not gonna judge too much on the story. But yeah, I'd say overall right now my experience in Wuthering Waves would be like a 9 out of 10. I'm having a great time. I'm loving it. The exploration is fantastic. The combat is amazing. The story could use a little bit of work, but it's still decent. Yeah, I'm enjoying the fuck out of this game. I think the best thing about this game actually isn't even the combat. I think it's the exploration. Genuinely, I genuinely believe the exploration is the best part of this game. Because I like with Genshin, the exploration is dragged down by the fact that like you're limited by the stamina bar. That and the fact that the exploration there's no reward for exploration other than like the chests that give you like 2 primo gems. At least with the Wuthering Waves, it has the ecosystem, and the ecosystem is like the best thing they could have added to this game, because now it gives you a reason to go out and explore. Because like, bro, I'm gonna go out and explore just to look for echoes. It's a grand old time. I'm enjoying it. But yeah, I think that's pretty much, I think that goes over most of what I want to talk about, unless I'm forgetting something. But no, I think that gets most of it. I'm enjoying the fuck out of Wuthering Waves, and I suggest that you at least give this game a try. Even if you're a Genshin stan and you want to be pegged by Dwayne himself, I would say give this game a try. It is worth the try. That would be my recommendation. I'm not gonna say everybody's gonna love it, right? Because no game is perfect, but it is worth a try. It deserves a try. I will give it that. It deserves a try. You should try it.